Adrienne Lawrence practiced law in California before joining our legal team here. Let's talk a little bit about the timeline when it comes to this civil case. What's the expectation typically in a case like this, Adrienne?
Well, typically in these kind of civil trials, and what the judge initially did was set aside 8 to 10 business days, which would take us through about October 14th or 18th with the Columbus Day holiday. And I used to practice in this court before this judge. He's very good at streamlining it. Generally, when you have domestic violence, there are people in this world and around you and the family members and friends who are well aware of what's going on, but it's still one of those, let's leave it in the family, let's let them handle it kind of hush hush. And so you have a situation here where you knew members of the Giants franchise knew about this. Also, you've got these documents that are essentially public documents or are accessible. And how hard did you have to work to get them? And I don't know if you all remember when his one-game suspension came out, it was kind of a what is this for? Right. Because the league wasn't necessarily making it known.
The Nevada Parole Board has spoken. O.J. Simpson had a 33-year sentence, served a little over 8, and now he's going to be out around October 1st. How wild is this? O.J.'s going to hit the streets yet again. But the thing that hit me was how he hit his pockets in that parole board hearing, going off ad nauseum without any contrition, any regret whatsoever, talking about what happened during that robbery of his memorabilia. It was everybody's fault but O.J.
So, with that being said, what are the chances that the courts grant Brady's petition then?
Well, I got a baseball term for you. It's just as likely as an unassisted triple play. The chances of this are so small and slight because you have to convince 7 of these 13 judges that they should go ahead and re-review by taking a second look at this. And this is a court that makes it a tradition not to re-review cases. They don't take second looks. Taylor Swift did not act improperly. That's what a Denver federal judge decided when he dismissed a DJ's case against her. The DJ had claimed that he lost his job because Taylor had reported him for allegedly grabbing her butt during a photo op back in 2013. And Taylor said he did do it, and the judge said she didn't act improperly. Now, the judge wasn't looking at whether she's telling the truth at this stage. The judge was just looking at the thought of, did she respond appropriately in this kind of situation? And the judge said, yep, she did. By virtue of the fact that the penalty includes paying the cost for the evacuation fee for the building you threatened. Oof. So for him to be charged with terroristic threats, Revis, it's like, wait, what's going on here? But then we look at these other charges like aggravated assault, conspiracy, robbery. Those things carry a lot of penalty. We're talking up to 20 years in prison for each charge in some cases.
Usher's legal issues, apparently they have no limit because he's been sued again, and this time by a 21-year-old woman named Quantasia Sharpton, who's claiming that the two hooked up back in November 2014 and that Usher didn't tell her that he had herpes. So now what's Usher's response? Well, he claims that Miss Sharpton isn't his type. Well, what does he mean by that? We can all see from the photos that Miss Sharpton is a larger woman. But does that mean that he didn't sleep with her and that if he did, he didn't tell her that he has herpes? No, it doesn't. Filing a false police report, it's pretty low level. We're looking at up to 6 months in jail, maybe probation or a fine. And generally in Brazil, it's resolved by just a fine. So this isn't something that the U.S. government would necessarily send Ryan Lochte down for extradition or even that the Brazilian government would demand it. And the thing is, we had never had the opportunity to hear his story about it because he didn't testify at the trial. So why he felt the need to use this as a trial or even appeal board when it's really a parole board and everyone knew you were going home. One of the gentlemen on the parole board, he was wearing a Kansas City Chiefs pin. Everybody knew this is the time. But OJ felt it was his time to give his side of the story. And my thought is that when you're going to be out, how are you going to make money? Your side of the story, but you just gave up the goods at the parole board hearing. Essentially what Tom Brady has done is he's thrown a challenge flag. He's asked the Court of Appeals, the entire court, all 13 judges, including the 3 judges that already decided this appeal, to review it again. Give him instant replay review. It comes down to whether it's more likely than not that what Jane Doe says happened actually happened that night. So it's different than beyond a reasonable doubt criminal trials. This is more of, is there a 51% chance that what Jane Doe is claiming, that she was essentially raped by Derrick Rose and his friends, whether that actually happened? Well, what does he mean by that? We can all see from the photos that Ms. Sharpton is a larger woman. But does that mean that he didn't sleep with her and that if he did, he didn't tell her that he has herpes? No, it doesn't. And the judge is going to be focused on those 2 things, not what Ms. Sharpton looks like. People sleep with people for a lot of different reasons. And some people don't, unfortunately, disclose their STD status. That is the reason the law is the way it is, and that's what the court is going to focus on.
Even though it's just the idea of robbery for stealing a phone? He didn't steal the phone. The police report itself said he threw it in the middle of the street, and they picked it up, and they got the video from it. You have to have an intent to permanently deprive for it to be robbery. So you're just looking at all these things that don't match up.